$50,000 a year, that's about $4,000 a month. Now, of course, depending on which country you live in and all that, that's different. But let's say that's my goal. All right, so if I want that result, in order for me to get $50,000 a year from, let's say I'm 65 years old, and I don't want to run out of money, in order for me to do that, if I use a 401k, I need to have $1 million in that 401k, because probably more than that, because the financial advisors will tell you, don't take out more than 4% to 5% per year. Most of them will tell you about 4% per year in order to live on, so that you don't run out of money. So that means if I got $1 million and I'm taking 4% per year out, I'm living on $40,000 a year. Well, how the hell do I get the $1 million in the first place? You got to accumulate. So if I'm behind and I'm starting late, how the hell am I going to get to $1 million? I have to start thinking differently. My goal then isn't $1 million in the account. My real goal is actually the $4,000 a month or $50,000 a year, whichever one you decide. Whatever is, let's make it easy and say $4,000 a month. So then my goal becomes $4,000 a month, right? Mm-hmm. Now, most financial advisors, you go to them, they will tell you, well, you need to increase your savings. You need to save this much money per month. You need to put it in this account. And if you earn this much return, you'll have $1 million in your 401k, blah, blah, blah. Okay. I get that. And that's all fine. But the reality is it's very hard for a person to save $1 million in a 401k or an IRA to get to the $4,000 a month. So if you start thinking a little bit differently, if you know what the goal is, you can say, I wonder if there's a way I can potentially start doing some sort of business or something that can pay me cash flow right now, sooner, where I don't need to have $1 million to get that $4,000 a month. So a person can start saving money. And one of the things they can do, so let's say a person starts saving money, you still got to save money anyway. Start saving money. And they decide they would go get, 3 other partners. Let's say they're going to go and save $25,000 each. Now they got $100,000. And they say, okay, we're going to take this $100,000 and we're going to put this $100,000 as a down payment on a small apartment building. Mm-hmm. So you could buy probably a $600,000, $800,000 apartment building with having $100,000 down. Maybe about $500,000-$600,000 apartment building, right? So now these people get together, they pool that $25,000, they go pull that together, and let's say each one of these people they're able to generate maybe a few $1,000s a month off of this apartment building, right? So now instead of trying to go save the $1 million for retirement, these people are pooling their money together. They're going to go buy this apartment building. You don't need $500,000 cash to control a $500,000 apartment building. You only need 20% down. You go to the bank will finance you the rest. And your tenants, the people living in an apartment building, will be paying down the mortgage on the property, and you'd be getting cash flow out of it. So that idea, by using that concept, that person starts to think differently and say, okay, if my goal is $4,000, $5,000 a month, I have to think about the goal differently. I have to figure out how can I get cash flow differently. So to start doing that. Like right now, we're shopping for assisted living properties. Assisted living properties are where seniors live. They go in there to get care. And in America, it's a very profitable business. So it's called senior living. They go in, you can get a house, and then you turn it into a senior living place, and then you get cash flow. So let's say you have 4 or 5 people living in there, 10 people living in there, residents, they have nurses that's taking care of them. You get cash flow out of that. So those are some of the things a person can do. If they're behind, they have to start thinking differently. They have to work out, okay, how much income do I want in retirement? And then how do I get this cash flow? Is there a different way than a traditional retirement account? Can I use real estate where I have people who pay me every month to do that? If I don't have all the money, can I find partners? Can I find people who will come in on this real estate deal with me? And then we put our money together, and then we start to get cash flow out of this real estate deal. So let's say it's only $500 a month for each real estate deal we do. Still, That's $500 a month. Out of the $4,000 I'm trying to get, I got $500 out of that. Okay, let's build it up and do another one. Now I got $1,000 out of that. Let's do another one. Let's build it up again and do another one. Eventually, you'll get to a point where you get cash flow from the real estate that's paying you, and you could do that a lot faster and more efficiently than just a traditional retirement account. So a person who's behind has to look at different things. They have to look at it differently. They have to look at it differently and start looking at the end goal of how much income, and then make their plan off of the income, not just how much money I got to put away, but what my plan is for income. So I hope that answers it. I get people to try to think about things differently, and that's part of my goal. I wanted to really think about things for themselves and kind of look at it in a little different way.
Okay, so someone asked a question, Josita Nobel. She's like, what are some of the steps we can take to make companies in Liberia public? What are the advantages and disadvantages?
Well, Liberia doesn't have a stock exchange, right?
No, not yet.
So Ivory Coast has a stock exchange, and so Ghana has a stock exchange. So Kenya has a stock exchange. So in order for you to take a company public, which would mean you have you offer shares available to the public, and if the public has the resources, has the money, they can then buy shares, buy stock in that company, and own a little piece of the company. So in order for you to do that, I don't know what the laws are in Liberia regarding this, but I'm pretty sure you could probably just do it as a private offering, right? Where you can, like for example, before Facebook went public, they go and they raise money through a private offering, which generally they're offering shares of their company to people who are already very well qualified investors. They're already rich people. They offer shares of their company. It doesn't have to be public and all that, but they can still raise money that way. So I'm sure in Liberia, if there's a company that's private and a person wants to kind of take it public, they can still do a public offering. You just have to identify people. You have to identify, okay, how many shares of the company that you want to give, or you want to offer for sale, what price you're going to offer each share at, and who do you think would be qualified to have ownership? Who do you think would be qualified based on that amount? And then I would then market it. I would then go and let people know, hey, we're doing this offering on this date. And also you have to have a way to document. See, in America, you have a lot of the systems already built. Over there, you have to have a way that they can document that they're actual shareholders. So whether you have some sort of electronic system, or you have physical share documents, and depending on how many shares you're offering, that you write down a number of shares a person buys at what price. And then if it's going to stay at that price, is it going to be something that fluctuates, or is it just going to be the same price going forward? Also, you want to let them know, are you going to offer more shares, or is this going to be the only shares that you offer in the company? So let's say you have a private company and you own 100% of this company right now, but then you want to offer shares to the public. So you can say, okay, just to keep the math simple, we're going to make the company, let's say the company is worth $100,000. These are just vague numbers, guys. The numbers don't mean anything. It's just to give math, so I'm using round numbers. So you want to offer 100 shares of your company, and you say, you know what, my company is worth $100,000. And you're offering 100 shares. So that means each share is worth $1,000, right? $1,000, 100,000. So you're offering 100 shares. So now you have to go to people and say, okay, if you pay $1,000, you own one share in a company. I'm making 20 shares available. You can say that, and you can say, so you keep 80% of the company, you make 20% of the company available to people, and then people buy those shares, and then you would document, hey, here's what the share price is, here's your ownership, and then here's what a share would entitle you to. Here's how much of the revenue of the company shares would entitle you to, and stuff like that. So that would be the way I would go about doing it. It's very different in Liberia than say here. And I think somebody asked if you can.
And most Liberians are asking you to give more practical example about Liberia, because I think majority of the audience in Liberia, so they really want to know from the Liberian perspective how they can do most of these things.